All right, everybody, for this episode, I want to show you an awesome recipe for some delicious pork burnt ends. So let's get right into it. So with pork burnt ends, most likely you're going to see recipes using the pork belly. The reason for that is because it's such an awesome cut for that type of cook. Pork belly burnt ends are one of my favorite things to cook. You can actually make burnt ends out of whatever you want. So today I'm not going to be using a pork belly. Here I have a nice pork neck roast that I picked up from Porter Road. Now I love Porter Road because they always have these awesome cut of meats that you don't see anywhere else, and that's why I decided to pick up this pork neck roast. And it really reminds me of kind of like a pork shoulder. There's a good amount of fat on here. So what I want to do is take this and turn it into some delicious pork burnt ends and compare it to a pork belly, because I've had that before but I've never tried it with this. I'm interested to see how this comes out in a pork burnt end, but enough talking about it. Let's get this opened and we'll get it seasoned. Nice. So as you can see here, it's got a good amount of fat, good amount of meat. The meat has some nice marbling on it. This looks like a perfect candidate for some burnt ends. Now, burnt ends obviously can be done couple different ways. You could smoke this meat whole like this for a while, then afterwards chop it up into your cubes. Now, when I like to do burnt ends, I really like to just chop it up into some cubes right off the bat. So that's what we're gonna do today. And whenever you're doing burnt ends, whether it's pork or beef, you wanna make these cubes a little bit bigger than you think, just because they shrink up a good amount once you cook them. And then just chop this up into your cubes. Something like that is probably a good size. Even this might be a little too small. Always go a little bigger than you think that you want, because like I said, these are going to shrink up a good amount. And from the look of this is a really nice mixture of fat and meat on here. All right, now all I want to do is just get this seasoned, and you could go pretty basic: salt, pepper, garlic, salt and pepper. That's fine, because we're going to add a sauce to these later. You could use a barbecue seasoning, which is what I'm going to do today. And this barbecue seasoning is my homemade recipe. If you are interested in this recipe, be sure to check out my seasoning video. I will put a link of it right above here so you can check it out after you watch this video. Be sure to look in the description of that video. I have the recipe right down below. Now you're gonna wanna get all sides of the pork belly. This is probably the hardest part, just because these are some small pieces. Kind of tough to get it all seasoned. Just do your best. And you're gonna want a good amount of seasoning on there. Don't worry about overdoing it. And then just kind of roll them around on the board. Get all the sides you missed. Just trying to make quick work of this. All right, but once you roll this around, get all the seasoning off the board you can. These look pretty good, nice and well seasoned, as you can see. So I'll push these to the side. Just get yourself a grate. We're just gonna throw these right on here. The reason I like using a grate is because it's just so much easier to move these in and out of the smoker as you need to. Now, as you can see, it's not that much pork here, but if you wanted to get some more pork, you could just buy 2 of these pork neck roast. From the look at these, I think these are gonna be awesome for some burnt ends, but these are ready for the smoker and I got it all fired up. So let's get it out there, get it on the smoker. Smoker is all set. Let's get it opened up. We'll get these pork belly burnt ends right on. Slide that out. All right, so I'm just gonna get these right in the middle of the grate. I'll get them in there. We're just gonna let these things cook. I'm running this thing at 250 degrees and I want to maintain it there. We don't really need too high of a temperature. Now you want to keep in mind that I'm using a big offset smoker out there, so I have a large amount of air movement, which allows me to run my smoker a little bit hotter. If you are using a small offset smoker or a pellet smoker, I would suggest 225 degrees at the maximum. You can go 200, 225. I just want to mention that because a lot of times in my videos I'm running a hotter temperature just because I have a bigger smoker and I have more airflow. That being said, I'm gonna let these things go probably for an hour or two, give them a check, see how they're coming along. So once they're looking nice, they got a pretty good crust, I want to get them off, get them into a foil pan with some brown sugar, honey, butter, lard. Just let them sit in there, stew for a while, get nice and tender. Then once they're looking pretty good in there, we'll go ahead and add a barbecue sauce to them. But for now, I'm just gonna wait, let these things cook. But since this is a video, we can go right out there and check them now. All right, it's been 2.5 hours on these pork burnt ends. Let's check them out. Oh yeah, these are looking really good. See, they got a nice crust on them there. Let me just go ahead and check some of these. So for temp, we're at 155, not bad. Feeling pretty tender. I think these are ready to get them in the tray with some brown sugar and honey. All right, so I got a little tray here. Just gonna go ahead and throw these in. All right, so to this I'm gonna add a couple pieces of lard. And I want a few slices of butter. Good amount of honey. And last, just some brown sugar. All right, that is that. Now it's covered up with some foil. Now we'll get it back in here to cook a little longer. While that cooks, let's make our barbecue sauce. So for this barbecue sauce, I'm going for a vinegar-heavy, sweeter style barbecue sauce. So I'm starting off with about 1.5 to 2 cups of white vinegar. To that, I want to add about 1 cup of ketchup, then a tablespoon or so of Worcestershire sauce. Then I want to add a little bit of hot sauce. And for this, I'm going to use Cholulas with lime. Use any hot sauce you'd like. Then I want to add a tablespoon or 2 of honey. We don't need too much because all that honey's already in that braise out there. Plus we got all the brown sugar. It should be pretty sweet. Now I'm going to go in with 1.5 tablespoons of mustard powder. I want to add a little bit of chili powder, not too much, maybe 1/2 tablespoon or so. A little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, dash of turmeric, a little bit of jalapeno powder. If you don't have this, you can use cayenne. And then some red pepper chili flakes. Depends on how spicy you want it to how much you're gonna add. If you don't want any spice, you could just skip this. Looks pretty good like that. Now let's give this a mix, see how it looks for consistency. The turmeric adds a great color to this. That's why I like to add it, but it's also got a nice flavor. It looks pretty good to me. There's our barbecue sauce, and for this recipe, I really like to go with a thin style barbecue sauce. That's just my preference. You guys use whatever barbecue sauce you want for this recipe. So we're just gonna let those pork burn ends cook in that braise out there for a while, probably an hour, hour and a half. After they cook for a little bit longer, I'll go out there, see how tender they are. They're getting nice and tender. I'm gonna go ahead and add this barbecue sauce right into that braise liquid. Then I'll let them cook uncovered for another 45 minutes or so, and then they should be done. So once these things are nice and tender, I'll see you out at the smoker to add this barbecue sauce. All right, pork's been on for another hour. Give it a check. Oh yeah, check that out. These are looking so good. Let me just check a couple of these for tenderness. Ooh yeah. These are starting to feel really nice. Now, let's go ahead and add that barbecue sauce. Just dump it all right in there. Now give this another little mix. This smells so good. All right, so I know I said I was gonna leave these uncovered, but I just wanna go ahead, get these covered just for about 1/2 hour or so. Then I'm gonna uncover it and let them cook for another 45 minutes. But I'll see you guys when these are done. All right, these pork burn ends are done, and we were at a total cook time of about 5 hours. So if I can remember right, it was about 3 hours just on that cooking grate, getting some nice smoke flavor. Then it was another hour or so in the butter, honey, brown sugar mixture. Then we added the barbecue sauce, and I let them cook for another hour or so. They were at about 200 degrees and they felt really nice and tender, so I pulled them off and I've been letting them rest for the past half an hour, but they are ready to try. So let's get these uncovered onto the cutting board and see how they came out. And take a look at these. Oh yeah. Just mix them around a little bit. That barbecue sauce smells amazing. Let me get one of these out of here. So check out that pork burnt end. Does that not look fantastic or what? That is beautiful. These are gonna be some delicious morsels, so let's get them down on the cutting board. And we're gonna wanna save all that sauce for dipping, so don't go throw that away. So what I'm gonna do is cut one of these open so we can see how it came out on the inside. Oh, beautiful. Check that out. Nice and juicy morsel of pork. I gotta give this a try. All right, so I'm super excited to give this a try and see how it came out, so here we go. Man, that is good. So much different than a pork belly burn end. If you've ever had a pork belly burn end, you know it's super soft and pillowy and there's a ton of fat in there. This is not like that at all. It has a lot more texture and chew to it, and it tastes so good. This pork flavor is fantastic. It's hard to explain the flavor. It's somewhere between a rib and a pork chop, but the tenderness is super good. This reminds me more of like a beef burn end just because it's not as tender as a pork belly burn end. This is a great option, guys. And the sauce, oh my God. fantastic. It's super sweet, has a great flavor. All that vinegar gives it a really nice tang, and it's honestly not spicy at all. I'd probably add a little bit more of the crushed red pepper and maybe more of that jalapeno pepper, just because it's not that spicy as it is right now, probably because all that vinegar and sugar really offsets the spiciness. But this stuff is so good, guys. Highly suggest giving it a try. Now, if you're interested, I'm gonna put a link to everything I like to use in my videos down below, so be sure to check that out. But I really appreciate you guys watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a like. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe right over here. And if you want to see another one of my videos, you can check this one out right over here. But thanks again, and most importantly, guys, get out there and smoke something good.